Hey VC, it's Danny, here to do a thread response for Alan over at Static Traveler. This is long overdue, but Alan posed the question a little while ago, what is beautiful in music? What is beauty? Can you define beauty? He has an excellent video about it. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. And the comment section is deeply fascinating, as the video is. And Rob over at Sounds Strange made an incredible response, and Sherv has addressed it, at least in one of his videos. It came up in passing. And so I made some notes here, but I'm really just going to ramble. I think it's such a fascinating topic. And I think my first interaction with Alan was that he left a comment on one of my videos saying something to the effect of, I'm one of the few people in the VC who describes music as beautiful, or who cares about beauty in music. Which I know I do tend to describe music as beautiful a lot. It was a flattering comment anyway. But yeah, so it's something I think about quite a lot. I work in visual arts, so I went to art school, and I've spent a lot of time in my life considering beauty and form, and even reaching for it in my work. But that doesn't make this question any less slippery. It's a really hard thing to pin down. And Alan asked if we think all the music in our collection, or what music in our collection is beautiful, and Rob responded that he thought all the music in his collection was beautiful, and that's why it's in his collection. And I think that would ring true as an honest answer for me as well. But I also I feel that Alan was looking for the boundaries of beauty. What is beauty and what is not beauty? So rather than pile on the maybe abstract truth that all art that touches you is beautiful, I'm going to see if I can discuss a little bit of what Alan was talking about. Man, I can't make sense of my own notes here. I'll just keep going back to Alan's video. Alan mentioned that beauty is often tied to sadness in music. That there's a lot of music that reaches dark topics, and then is described as being incredibly beautiful in response. And I think that's accurate. And I even think that can become a bit of a trap. Speaking very vaguely and generally here, but I've noticed a lot of white collectors tend to fetishize black music. Been guilty of that myself. And there seems to be an idea that the more suffering that went into the music, the better the music will be. And that pain is equal to artistic value. I don't want to get into this completely, but I think that's a dodgy idea for a lot of reasons, not least of which is, fetishizing poverty and suffering of other people for your own enjoyment. But I agree that idea is out there, but I guess I don't agree that there is an innate connection. I think, or maybe the connection is that we need beauty when times are low. I think that's how I feel about it, that I need beauty. Music for me has always been a balm for difficult emotions. It's always been a thing I've reached to because I was low and I needed something to bring me up. And when you are in that place, this is how the blues functions. When you're down, to hear someone else not only express that they are there too, but to express it beautifully, with a great melody, with a great chord structure, with a great voice, with a great performance. The beauty lifts you up. The message says you're not alone, and the beauty shows you the light at the end of the tunnel. I think point well taken, Alan. There really is an innate connection there. And as I said, I think there's two sides of that coin. There's there's a side of that I try to avoid, and then there's another side that feeds me endlessly and is probably the reason that I collect records. So Alan posed some questions, rapid fire. Let me see. We'll just try to get through those so I don't ramble on forever here. What do I find beautiful? As I said, I'm a visual artist by day, so form is important to me. How does the form of the music, how do the chords and the melody and the harmony and the voice and the emotion, how do they all line up with what's being communicated, or how do they play against it? And I think craft is hugely important to me. My grandfather was a mechanic. Every summer was spent by his side working on whatever project he needed done. It was very much, if it wasn't done correctly, you take everything apart, clean it, start again, do it perfectly the next time. So I tend to appreciate art from a craftsman's perspective, at least on some level. And the same, I think, is true of music. I pay attention to how things are crafted, and when something is crafted perfectly, which I don't think has to have been done consciously, I think that can happen, accidentally or subconsciously. It doesn't matter which, though. But when the form lines up with the message, when the emotion lines up with the genre, or whatever, when everything comes together, I've heard transcendence described as a stairway, which is a pretty obvious analogy, but one that works. And I think, when the form and the content of the music come together, it builds a stairway, and it creates transcendence. I'm sorry, I'm really, really, really incoherently rambling here, but do I believe there's beautiful music in my collection? Oh, do I believe there's beauty in music? Absolutely. I'm 100%. There absolutely is beauty in music. I would be more the type of person to argue that there is beauty in punk or hardcore or even noise than to argue the opposite. And I see innate beauty in life as well, in all forms of it, including concrete and everything, all of it. I think everything is beautiful, really. But specifically, yes, I think there is immense amounts of beauty in music, and I think it's one of the main features of music. I believe and to that end, I believe my collection is full of beautiful music. And I think that the traditional ideas of beauty, classical is more beautiful than punk, jazz is more beautiful than folk, but maybe folk is more beautiful than punk as well, I think that those have more to say about our society than they do about beauty. I think humans are incredible at identifying the existence of something, but so obsessed with our patterns that we can crush subtlety with them. And so, Rob made a point that what is beautiful depends entirely on which culture you're from. I'm speaking about Okora ethnographic records and stuff, which I thought was a perfect point. The quality of the soil, of the air, where you come from, affects the type of instrument that will survive there, or that is available to you, which affects the type of music people will play, plus a million other factors. But it is, I do think environment and music have everything to do with one another. There's a great soul compilation on Light in the Attic called Weedle's Groove, and it's all funk and soul from Seattle. And unless I'm fooling myself, when I listen to it, I can hear Seattle. I can hear some of the melodies that eventually made their way into grunge. I mean, I do think that places have sounds. You can hear that incredibly clearly in pre-war blues, where each area literally had its own genre of the blues. So anyway, yes, I think there's beauty in all music, but the anyone's personal definition of beauty will be influenced by their culture, as Rob so eloquently stated. I do aspire to find beautiful music I do think I recognize beauty in my music. I think maybe I probably abuse the descriptor because it's pretty much the thing I'm searching for. Whether it's Iggy Pop on Funhouse or, you know, Don Cherry on with his trumpet, or Ornette Coleman, as Sherv said. Sherv mentioned in his video that Ornette Coleman was the personification of beauty to him. And Alan had a great comment that reading Sherv had Ornette Coleman, I think, playing behind him. And he said reading the comment, it just changed his perspective instantly. And I had the exact same experience where the dissonance that my brain had defaulted to focusing on with the music that I was hearing just faded away. And when Sherv said, "This is my definition of beauty," all I could hear was the beauty in the music. And so that I found fascinating, that how dynamic and, you know, easily influenced our concepts are of these things. Can any of us recognize beauty in music? Is it really a thing? Yeah. I think all of us can recognize beauty in music. I don't think any of us can define beauty in music. I think it is really a thing. But, you know, it's like a person, you know. I mean, I am objectively here. I am a person, you know. But could you define who I am? Can I define who I am? I can feel it. It's much deeper than the old quote about pornography. I'll know it when I see it. I mean, although it applies. But it's, you know, to get totally lost up my own ass, I apologize. That's what this whole video is. But can you truly describe gravity? Can you truly describe elemental forces? You know, I see beauty as that. It's some part awe and some part love and some part yearning and some part satisfaction. And you know, it is probably some complicated stew of all of our emotions firing at one time. And I think, like most things in human culture, the miracle of it is that we can share our experience of it, but that no one can ever replicate your experience of it, and that it is entirely unique to you. Oh my goodness, I don't know if that's the end of his questions. I had some questions that this made me think of here. You know, if we take the idea that all music is beautiful, it would follow that all music then is worth preserving. I think as record collectors, we can agree at least that music is worth preserving. That there's something of value here, and that it should be tended to and held on to. So I was wondering, is the same true of the VC? Is criticism, because I've encountered beautiful thoughts in the VC. I've encountered beautiful moments that I think the moment between Sherv's comment and Alan's comment about Ornette Coleman and the music, and I had an experience there that I couldn't have had without watching this YouTube video. Is the VC worth preserving? You know, and this I'm thinking, of course, along the lines of, can you pin down what it means to be beautiful or what it means to be worthwhile, or, you know, those things shift and change. And I think a lot of us would take for granted that the VC is just something we do. We just we toss out these videos. It's just for kicks. It's something to do. You know, I wouldn't want anybody holding on to my videos in an archive. But wouldn't it be a shame if this was not here, or if it was all gone tomorrow? And I know that YouTube is its own archive. Not really suggesting that somebody begin downloading and archiving VC videos, but I wonder if we will ever get to that point. I do wonder if, you know, because I think part of what's making me say all this is that I think the passage of time and the inevitable loss of anything that exists, entropy, you know, creates beauty in and of itself. Human beings seem to, especially record collectors, you guys know this innately, value is tied to rarity. And so every scene, if there's a club in a town and there's 3 great bands that play there and everybody else that plays is crap, even the bands that are crappy make the bands that are great shine brighter. If you are there, if you go to that club for the 2 years that those 3 bands are playing, you are experiencing a moment. If one member of one band moves away, that moment's over. Even if they all recorded, and all of their records are easily attainable for a period of 5 years while you live in this town with this venue. What happens in another 5 years? Now try to track down those 3 releases, which were independent. I'm just saying things disappear so quickly from the world, and I think that has something to do with what makes them beautiful. And I think, I guess that my last point is that I think on some level, like almost everything with human beings, our experience of beauty is a projection of our own self-worth. We do tend to dwell on the beauty of human achievement a lot. And I think it's, we are, we're affirming ourselves, the idea, the biblical idea that God created man in his own image. Of course, man created God in his image. But the point is the same, to know yourself, you must create another, and so I think, I don't know what I think, but that we create art so that we can experience that. And when it works, when it's pleasing, we call it beautiful. Because we want to love ourselves, and it's easier to do that through the creations of others than just by looking in a mirror. Anyway, I'm sure that was just a lot of fragments of ideas and not much coherent. Who knows if I'll actually post this. But Alan, at the very least, even if you never see this, thank you for getting me to think. Thank you for contributing such a rich idea to the VC. And to Rob and Sherv and everybody else who commented. Dean had some incredible comments. And Alan's responses were equally thoughtful. Thank you, everybody. You guys really gave me a lot to chew on. And I hope this isn't too obnoxious. So take care, VC. See you soon.